Hey everybody, here we are in the backyard. Rare opportunity for us here in Texas. Normally it is 95, 98 degrees and feels like it's 120 kind of a thing. Well, today it's not. It's not that hot. It's like in the 80s and you can sit outside and even drink coffee. So it's pretty cool. So we're sitting out in the backyard, doing a little reading, and thought I'd talk a little bit about the thin red line we've been on in this COVID journey thing. Because ours started 8 months ago. My wife got ill during Christmas, pretty bad. Uh, had fever, aches, coughing. It lasted 3 weeks, kind of a thing. And so we really didn't know what all was, back then. That was before the COVID pandemic started. She got through it. Basically doing what we always do when we get sick, because we're not very sick very often. So we got through it. We used what we always used. And so, we've been down that road, and then, went through January like normal, and then February kind of like normal, and then all the stuff hit the fan, and stuff started happening, and people started, wanting to shut things down and do this and do that, and nobody really knew what was going on. We all didn't. Nobody knew. So anyway, we've been down that journey along with everybody else. We've had to decide whether we're going to, do this or do that, go here, go there. We've had to do all that stuff. So it's kind of been the way it is, and we're cool. We're cool with that. But then there's things we've learned along the way. First bunch of stuff that came out was like Panicville. It's like somebody threw a bunch of, it's what I call it. Somebody threw a bunch of mud on the wall to see what would stick, and a bunch of stuff stuck, and everybody believed it. It's like it's the gospel, and it's like it was written in the heavens, kind of a thing. But nobody really knew. But people that everybody thought were experts were telling this stuff, so everybody started doing it. We shut down the economy. We said, okay, for 2 weeks we'll all go quarantine ourselves. And that turned into 4, and that turned into 30 days, and that turned into 60 days, and that turned into 90 days, and we've been open and we've not been open, and it's just kind of been this roller coaster of a ride, and everybody finds themselves, whether they're a business or whether they're a family or whether it's their health or somebody else's health, whether it's their finances, whether it's their social life, all right on that red line, between things being really bad and things kind of being halfway good. And we've been weaving that line this whole time, and yet nothing's happened. Nothing's really come along, except we keep finding more stuff out, right? It's been the same true for us, and I'm not a conspiracy theory person at all. Some people probably think I am, but I'm not. I pretty much go investigate all the facts. Because when I was in high school, I was on the debate team, and one of the things that we learned on the debate team is when you got to the debates, especially as you went up to district and then to semi-district, and then you got in the final state finals and stuff like that, you never knew which side you were going to be on. I mean, you drew a slip and it told you what's your argument, so which side you were on. So you had to know both sides of the story, as good enough that you could believably argue either one of them regardless. So I've kept that skill my whole life. I mean, I've passed the 6-decade mark, and so as we kind of gone along through that, the process has been, well, let's look at both sides of this thing. First, the whole thing about the mask. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, because my dad was in the construction business, there've been times we've had to wear masks, and there's a whole government entity out there that can shut down your job based on a lot of number of things by just walking on the job and finding a violation. So, you know, the mask thing's been around a while, and they're pretty much experts at it. But the health care people ran out and said, oh, you need to do this, right? And everybody believed, well, they're experts, they're doctors. Well, that was kind of what I learned about doctors a long time ago. Doctors took maybe a semester or two of nutrition, and then they go out here and they want to tell everybody, you know, what to do nutritionally, and they don't know. Now, if you're a dietitian, that's another story. But if you're just a plain doctor, medical doctor, whatever, you didn't take any more nutritional classes than the average person in college took. And yet they're the expert, and they say, well, you should try this diet, or you should try that diet. And some people it works, some people it doesn't work, right? Well, the same thing was true about the mask. Everybody believed they're experts on masks because some doctors wear them in surgery. So everybody just believed it. And of course, then if you didn't wear the mask, you were evil, you know, and you were trying to kill people, and you should die. I mean, I had several people tell me, well, you're going to, we just hope you die. Just go ahead and don't wear the mask. I'm like, are you really? You know, but when you go talk to the mask people who deal with people every day all over the world in environments where you have to wear masks to protect yourself from disease, from gas, from poisonous gas, from illness, you know, airborne illnesses, all those things. You know, they knew the mask thing. They put it out, but nobody wanted to believe them. It was like, yeah, don't do that. So there's that line everybody's trying to weave, you know, with the mask. Now, what's the real truth about mask? Well, we're learning more and more about masks. Now we learn that if you wear the wrong kind of mask, you're not doing anything. Then we learned if you wear the mask improperly, it's not doing anything. Then we learned if you wear a mask too long every day, then you know, you're poisoning yourself. You know, like somebody said, you know, doctors take 6 months of pharmaceutical related education, and they're, you know, well, I've sat in the office with my doctor and we've had this discussion because I'm that kind of person. And I said, well, if you're going to treat this, how are you going to treat it? She said, I don't have to look it up. So she goes and gets this book, and she goes through there and says, well, we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this. Because they don't know. There's so much changing. They don't know either. They have to research it too, and they make an educated guess. You do understand that a physician, a doctor, is called a medical practice. Medical practice. Now, I'm all for doctors. I think doctors are good people. They want to help people. What's called a medical practice. Here's what you should know. So they practice. It's an educated guess. Now, if you took your car to the shop to a mechanic, and he used the same theory that a doctor uses, you would be totally irate. Like, how many times do I have to keep coming back for you to fix my car? Because you expect a mechanic to be an exact science. Why? Because it's mechanical. And there's a formula for figuring it out. It's not called an auto practice. It's called an auto repair shop. We're going to fix it. If they don't fix it, then you can get your money back. You can demand it. Go to the doctor and say, Doc, you didn't fix it. It's not right. I didn't get well. Sorry. We did the best we could. We're a medical practice, right? Same thing's true for lawyers. It's not a lawyer repair shop. It's a lawyer. It's called a practice because they're practicing law. Because law's got so many bends in it, you don't always know if the law is going to work. If people are going to honor the law, if a judge is going to follow the law, right? It's just how it is. So when this journey through COVID, it's kind of been the same thing, but everybody becomes an expert. I'm not an expert about COVID. I'm just telling my story. You know, do I wear a mask when I'm around people that are vulnerable and are in that bracket of people who are vulnerable? I wear a mask. More for them, not for me. Not for me. You know, why? Because I learned from people from people who are a part of the practice of healing your body, then understand how your body works. It's miraculous, by the way. It's got all these amazing components in it that when a foreign substance gets in your blood or in your lungs or any part of your body, on your skin, there's this amazing weapon, defense weapon, rises up and jumps right on it and begins to attack it and to bring about healing to your body, begins to fight the enemy of your body. A lot of times it wins. You don't even know it. You don't even know that. Example, I remember the day I was sitting in a class with a doctor, and he revealed everybody has cancer. Like, what? Everybody has, he said, everybody has cancer cells. You know what cancer cells are by definition? No. All I know is the C word, right? Cancer, by definition, is abnormal cells. Cells that have become abnormal, either by mutation or being deformed or by disease, they become abnormal in your body. If they grow, if they grow and grow and grow and grow, then you have certain stages of cancer, right? But the body, our human body, recognizes abnormal cells and goes to work on defeating them. So when we're healthy, our body all the time is fighting cancer cells. Our body all the time, every time we take in a breath of air, guess what? We're breathing in stuff. We're breathing in chemicals. We're breathing in viruses. We're breathing in bacteria. We're breathing in stuff. Our body goes, attacks it. I mean, if you didn't learn all this when you were in school, bless your little pea-picking heart, as we say down here in the South, you need to go back to school somewhere, because this is basic health class stuff. I know nowadays, health class is all about teaching kids about sex, but back when I went to school, they taught about health. They taught about how the body functions and how it works and all the makeups of the body and those kinds of things. Well, it still works today. It does the exact same thing today. So this whole thing about the COVID deal, you know what? It's they don't know. But here's what we have learned some things in the last 4 or 5 months about it. It's one, hey, we have learned that what we thought was true wasn't true. I remember it came out and said, oh, it's on surfaces. And we had this mad rush to the store. You gotta remember this. Remember this? This mad rush to the store. Sorry. This mad rush to the store. Let me put my phone on do not disturb, because I'll probably get a call back here on that line. Do not disturb. Okay. Okay. So what happened there, right? So what happened there was what always happens. What always happens, right? What always happens is everything everybody said. Everybody took it for gospel, and we found out after everybody went and bought everything that they could find, every Lysol can in the world, every wipe got bought up. Nobody's got any. Oh, wait a minute. We found out that it doesn't last on surfaces just like we thought. Oh, imagine that. Then we find out it's not airborne like everybody thought. It's transmitted another way, transmitted through droplets. So okay, that's it. Well, everybody wear masks. Go wear masks so nothing gets on you. So then you see everybody running around masks. I should have brought mine out, and they're wearing their mask down here, and they're not covering their eyes. Your eyes can receive liquid, So then it was social distancing. Everybody get apart, get away from each other. And so then it got really confusing. Well, if masks work, why do we need to be apart, right? So there's this thin red line of where are we at? So we've been down that journey. We've done it too. You know, I go in a store. I try to stay away from people. If they want me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. You know, I don't want to wear a mask because I don't think that's the answer. You know, I think being healthy is the answer. That's the best answer. You know, and I'm gonna tell you why here in just a minute. And so we go through that, and then we go through this whole economic shutdown. Right, every business shuts down. You can't be open. Me and my wife went to supper the other night at one of the places that is open, and we laugh every time we go in because you have to wear your mask in. You know, to get in, you got to wear your mask. But when you get to your table, there's this invisible red line that's at the end of your table. Have you seen it? Have you seen the invisible red line at the end of the table? It's kind of like in Star Wars. You know, there's this invisible shield, and because this virus is really smart. I mean, it is like the smartest thing I ever. I mean, nothing in the world is no disease is this smart. It follows you in. You got on your mask. It follows you in to your table. Then when you sit down at the table, it stops at the end of the table because you took your mask off. It can't get you while you're at your table eating. Nope. It can. It has this genetic makeup that it cannot attack people in a restaurant. It cannot go past the edge of the table because you're eating. All right. And until last week, if you went into the Blue Store, that's a hyphenated word, that's one of the largest stores in the world. If you went in their store, you could walk around their store with no mask. It stopped at the door because they were counting people. They only let so many people in. I mean, it may be hundreds of people, depending on how really big that Blue Store with the yellow and white writing is. But it didn't follow you in there. Nope, couldn't follow you in there. But it got smarter. So it got really smart, and now that store has decided that you can only go in one end of the store, and you have to wear you have to wear your bandana. That's all you have to wear. I mean, you can use your shirt sleeve. You can go in like this and walk around the store like this, and that's okay. Or you can pull your shirt up over your head and scare everybody. That's what I would do. Uh, and they can only let so many people in now because the virus has mutated and it can count. And if it gets to be more than however many that store can have, and if somebody gets in there without a mask, it goes in. It gets in there, and then it starts moving around. Right? So that's the kind of red line we've been walking. It's like crazy, you know. So I just come outside and sit on my back porch. I don't wear a mask. But I sometimes, you know, for practice, I put on my mask and I drive around so people can see me wearing my mask, right? Because in the car, I found out that some kind of cars it can't get in, but other cars it can get in. You know, because when I pull up at the grocery store to go in the store, I've started documenting the cars, the model cars that people don't wear the mask in the car, and the people that do. So it's really smart. There's a thin red line there. Now I know some people who've gotten COVID, that's gotten the virus. A couple people at our church, they work for a government agency, and a lady there got it, and the next day her coworker got it. They quarantined themselves off. Their kids are grown, but two of them are home from college, so they all quarantined themselves in the house, and before it's over, you know, she got well, but then boom, her husband got it. So they had to switch bedrooms, and so he got through it. But for him, it lasted a long time. For her, it lasted just a couple of days. It wasn't really bad. For him, it was days and days with high fever and everything like that. And so Somebody on here is a really good documentator. They're documenting, if I say like COVID lasts 8 hours on copper, 24 hours on paper, and cardboard, 72 hours on hard surfaces such as steel and plastic, as tested by the National Institute of Health. But now, COVID has gotten greedy. The COVID virus has decided, you know what? I think I'm going to put money in my bank. So now COVID has decided that it can live longer on money. And now we're going to move to no cash. Because if you have a penny, if you spend a penny, it's 24 hours. If you use a quarter, it's a little bit longer. But it gets on a dollar, a $5, $10, $20, $50, $100 bill, permanent. It's like it doesn't go away. So now it's not only dirty money, it's sick dirty money, right? So now we're going to do away with cash. No cash. Okay. Here's what people don't think about. It's just hilarious because I'm in a merchant service provider and we sell merchant accounts all the time. People, credit card machines to people. People forget that they touch this, they sneeze on it, they breathe it, they've had it in their purse, they've had it in their pocket, they sweated on it, all kinds of things, and they stick that thing in the machine or they swipe it in the machine. Guess what they just deposited on that credit card machine? Don't tell anybody, right? Because they already got a plan for that. See, very few stores know that they make there's a cleaning device for the swiper and for the chip. You stick it in there, it cleans it. But they're not doing that. They're going around wiping the keypad. But actually, it's the guts of the machine that need cleaning. But you can't just do that with the cloth. It'll short it out and ruin the credit card machine. But there is a way to clean the machine properly. But they're getting away from that, right? They're getting away from that. Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that story. That's coming in the story. So we're going to do away with money. We've done away with. We've got this invisible shield in restaurants. One of the stores, though, the big box stores, they've all been overcome by it because their approach to letting people in the store, they missed an important part of what happened in society. Apparently, don't tell anybody. Apparently, the virus is afraid of large crowds. Right, it's afraid of large crowds that are hollering and yelling and screaming and doing all kind of horrendous stuff to everybody else's stuff, and most of the people are unemployed, so they don't have anything else to do. It's afraid of those people. I mean, it is like afraid of those people, totally afraid of those people, because all over the country we had these events happening that they called peaceful protests, but they were all these people hollering and screaming and burning and turning over stuff and doing all kinds of things. And COVID virus ran like a wild man, scared out of its wits of those people. I mean, it scared the COVID virus to death. Meanwhile, the people at the big box stores, they weren't allowing enough of that, and COVID crept in through the cracks. And now they've had to revert to only so many people in the store. Everybody has to wear a mask. You have to stand in long lines. Certain of the machines don't work in there. You can only have so many things you can check out at a time. Used to, if you had 10 items or less, it didn't matter whether you had 10 items or less. You could check yourself out, because I feel like when I'm fixing to buy this, and if you offer me a place to check it out myself, that's the safest place, right? I'm the only person that's touched this stuff in my cart, especially in the last, what was that guy saying? In the last 10 or 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. I'm the only one that's touched it. And so I should be able to check that out, not hand it to somebody I don't know who's touched everybody in the stuff store. But that's safe. But for you, if you've got more than 10 items, COVID knows it. And now the machine doesn't work right. Yeah, I was in the store the other day, and that's what the manager told. I was like, no, I'm checking out. I've checked out with 40, 50 pieces of items in the checkout line because there's 12 of them now or 15 of them now in the store when they only used to be 3. And I felt bad for somebody standing behind me. And I usually be kind and let them go because they had one thing and I had 20. Now here, you go ahead. And they'd be like, oh, no, 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 no. No, you go ahead. Go ahead. And, oh, well, thank you so much. Like, no, you have a right to be here. I don't. Right. But now the COVID virus is so smart that it has infected the machine at the checkout places, where that if you have more than 10 items, you have to go get in the line and go through the line with those people that are kind and nice, but they've touched everybody in the store stuff, and that's supposed to be safer. Who knew? Who knew? I mean, this virus is so brilliant. Oh yeah, back to our crowd thing. So these riders come along, and it just scares the bejeebies out of the virus, and it runs and runs and runs for miles and finds these people over here by themselves being quiet and wearing masks, and slips in those stores, and you can't walk around those stores. Matter of fact, it got so bad that some stores shut down, and the only thing you could do is order online. And then this is a crazy thing. You had to go to the store and text them from the parking lot that you were there, and then you can walk up and get your stuff that they handled, right? Because they're safe, and they'd hand it to you. So this has been a really thin red line through this whole thing about COVID. Let me go back to the beginning of the story. Back in December, my wife, we don't know this yet because there's a new test out. And that's the other thing. Back when this all happened, our government did something they've never ever done before. The FDA dropped all the rules for the test to test people for this virus, because the virus was, back then the virus was stupid. It didn't know anything, and it was so stupid. It's like, we'll let anybody test for it and we'll show up positive. So the government relaxed all the laws on testing, and hundreds of companies from everywhere flooded the U.S. market with all these tests, and the numbers shot through the roof when we were testing people. Naturally, we were testing people, but not only that, the tests weren't any good. After they had a little time, they realized, wait a minute, these tests aren't any good. So now, if you go to what's called a rapid results test. In other words, they test you immediately and pretty quickly within 15 minutes, not days, weeks, months. You don't sit in line for 5 hours to have somebody stick something up your nose and then say, well, we'll get back with you in a few days or a couple of weeks, let you know whether you've got COVID. If you're still alive, or if you still got a job, or you still living in your house, we'll let you know. Right? So that's the rigmarole they go through now, because they wanted to get everybody tested. Well, I mean, a minute number of people. Okay, thanks whoever Facebook user is. I don't know who it is, but you can go. That's okay. Watch that thin red line, though. Don't let COVID outsmart you. So there's 1 of 5 companies now have what's called an emergency use acceptance with the FDA for rapid results tests for antigen, meaning, antibodies, meaning that you've had it in the past. So back when my wife was so sick in December, and we got through that kind of thing, what we didn't realize is we now come to we got a little smarter. As we went back to when she had her physical back in, I don't know, October or something, the doctor said, I don't like this rattle in your chest. What rattle? What? Here, listen. So she listens. I was like, oh, wow. So anyway, we kind of believed she had COVID. Now, we don't know yet for sure because we hadn't had the antibody test, but as soon as our doctor gets this test, we're trying to help every doctor in the country get these tests, because this same company has had 71 FDA approved tests brought to market here in the United States. They have developed a rapid results antigen test, meaning that you have COVID right now or you don't. And it's like they swab your throat for saliva, and they stick it in a tube, and it changes color or not, and you're either positive or you're not, right? Right then, no 14 days from now, no waiting, just right now, you know. And so they're fixing to, that's fixing to roll out from that same company. So we're waiting to get those tests so we can find out, did she have COVID? But we feel like, based on everything we studied and been told about the virus, that she probably had it. Well, guess what? I was around her the whole time. I nursed her through the process. I helped her have something to eat every day. I helped her with her coughing. I was there. I gave her a wash rag when she had fever to help her keep cool and all those kind of stuff. And that was in the end of December. Okay. I hadn't had it yet that I know of. I want to take the test just to go, I had it and I didn't even know it. Because we've learned something. This virus is not as smart as it thinks it is. We are finding out now that this amazing body that we have is pretty smart. Smarter than the virus. Imagine that. No, the red line is going to get really thin, and we're going to find ourselves with this huge barricade coming up inside our bodies because we're learning that our body has certain what's called T cells. And some people already have those T cells and they don't get sick. Their body squishes the virus like a bug. Other people don't have those T cells or have very few of them, and they get really sick. That's what we're learning. That's what we're learning. And what we're learning is that you and I, as people, can get in all kind of situations and all kind of thing. Yeah, the new test is going to, matter of fact, it is already at the FDA. Yes, Doug, good question. It is already at the FDA. It is already at Cornell University labs with hundreds of tests. They're going through it as fast as they can to get an emergency use acceptance approval from the FDA. It should hit in the market anywhere from the next 7 days to the next 30 days. I don't know. They don't know exactly. They're waiting on that approval. The test works now. They know it works. That company, because they have such a stellar reputation with the FDA, does not want to release it until they get that stamp. Once they do, Doug, boom, it's coming. Thanks for that. It's a good question. And every physician, anybody that's out there in the medical field needs to be that you need to be asking your doctor to be doing these tests. Why? Think about it. If you knew you had it, you could get treated today. And we all know, we've already all learned, and we learned this way back in health class, the quicker you get on a disease and help your body recover, the more likely you're going to recover. The longer you go not knowing what it is and limping along and your body gets broke down, boom. Yeah, instead of 50-50, it's like 98% effective. Yes, exactly. It's like 98%. All right? The antibody is actually 97%. So their test is anyway. But the thing is you're there. You're with. Let me ask you something. Who do you trust more? Standing in a line, sitting in a line, driving through a line, pulling up, rolling your window down, getting the test done by somebody you don't even know who it is. You don't even know who's really doing the test. You don't even really want. You don't even know really where the test goes. Or would you rather sit down in front of your doctor that you know that you're going to see again, good Lord willing, that you just saw a few months ago, sit down with your doctor and your doctor does it and then shows you the result of the test while you're still sitting in the examination room. Now let me tell you, does that make more sense? Doesn't that, that's what I want. I want to go to my doctor. I want to go to somebody I trust. I want to go where it works for me, where I can see it. I don't want to get some phone call like the guy the other day somebody at work got it. They sent everybody home. In a couple of days, he gets a call from his local health department saying, sir, you have COVID. How are you feeling? It's like, how do you know I have COVID? Well, we're reading it on this test. I've never been tested. Yeah, you have. I'm reading it right here. We'll call back tomorrow and see how you're feeling. Like, next day, ring, ring. How are you feeling, sir? How's this COVID? I don't know. I don't have it. Well, yeah, you do, because we're reading it right here. I hadn't been tested. On and on and on and on. Or like that crazy incident in Florida that 98% of the people that took it that day were all positive. Now, thinking people knew something was wrong immediately. But the people that just kind of accept it all, like, oh, I have COVID. I have to let everybody, my family know, my boss know, my church know, my civic organization. I got to run up and down the street and tell everybody, I have COVID. I'm tested positive. Later, oh, by the way, we made a mistake. Sorry, that wasn't 98%. That was 9.8% of the people. Too late. You're quarantined. You can't come back to work for 14 days. Hope you make it. Hope you can pay your mortgage, pay your electricity. Hope you got groceries to eat. Hope it works out. Yeah, I want to get the new test when it comes out. I think I had it. Yeah, exactly, Doug. I can. By the way, Doug, reach out to me. I can tell you how you can get your doctor to get that test right now. Right now. Matter of fact, I'll even call your doctor and talk to them about it for you so they can order the test and they'll have them in 2 days and you can make an appointment and go get tested and find out. But again, folks, I'm just telling you, as we go down this thin red line with the virus, there's things you can do. There's things you can do. Believe me, I know. I've been through it. Switch day. Yeah, exactly. They put the decimal point in the wrong place. It's supposed to be 9.8, not 98%, 9.8%. But can you imagine the hysteria that happened to all those people who knew they were getting tested that day? Of the weight that came on them? Now, me personally, it wouldn't have, because I can read. I can read the fact that says 99.8% of people recover. Really? 99.8%? Matter of fact, I looked it up. I'm more likely to die from all kinds of things. Getting run over by a car, falling in the bathtub, falling down in my house, walking across the street, getting hit by a car. There's all kind of other things that I'm more likely to die from than COVID. But don't tell anybody, because COVID thinks it's really smart. Yeah. So anyway, this thin red line, I know everybody's had to walk it. It's been hard on everybody. It's been hard on neighborhoods. It's really been hard on our small business friends. I know people who have lost their whole dream. They can't stay open. They can't keep their employees. They didn't have enough reserve to outlast this 30-day thing this 2-week thing we were going to do that turned into 30. That's now turned into 90, and for some 120. When the whole thing is unnecessary. But hey, that's me. That's me. Well, thank you for being with me in the backyard today. I just wanted to come on and kind of tell a story that's happened to us over the last 7-8 months now. That we've learned some things, and I hope you've learned some things along the way. Hope you thought about it. Hope you've thought about common sense. I hope you've thought about the things that don't add up. I hope you've learned from this that people's first reaction is usually not very good. I hope you've learned that the majority is almost always wrong about things, especially when a bunch of people just say what somebody else said instead of doing their homework. Instead of thinking, this doesn't make sense. If something tells you something doesn't make sense, use your noggin and go say, wonder why it doesn't make sense. Because maybe way back there when you were in the 8th grade or 9th grade or 10th grade, your health teacher told you something and it's still rolling around in your brain. It's like, I think the health teacher said something about this whole thing about how the body works and really works that way. I should go check it out. Right? Plus, if you're a spiritual person, you have God on your side, one way or the other. Now, I know people that are spiritual have died from COVID. I know some good Christians that have died from COVID. Right? I understand that. But I also know some people that didn't die from COVID. 99.8% of the people in the United States that got it didn't die. So, hey folks, thanks for being with me in the backyard today. Hope this has been helpful. I know it's been somewhat of a satire. I hope you accepted it for that. I wear a mask when I need to wear a mask. I social distance when I need to social distance. I don't want anybody getting COVID. I'm certainly not wishing anybody could die because they don't agree with me, even though I've been told that numerous times. But I'm glad that I live in a country that's free. I'm glad I live in a place that that if we'll all pull together in this process, that people can get tested and find out, right? People can line up and make a difference in their community, in their neighborhood, can quit staring at each other across the fence. Do you have on your mask when you go out? Where's your mask? You know, they can quit all that business. They can quit hiding behind something like they're protecting themselves, and just be people. Just go back to being neighbors and friends and communities that care about what's happening in our community, that care about the people in our community, that care about the things that matter to us. They want to stand up for the local diner that the guy, took his last penny and bought it and started cooking and did it all for himself and finally grew his business, to that mom and pop store that's been handed down for generations to generations, and they pass it on, and they're hanging on by the thread. Back to that idea, back to that story. It makes a whole lot better story than accusing somebody about whether they wear a mask or not, or are you 6 feet or 5 feet or 4 feet, or have you been tested or not been tested? Are you this color or are you that color? You speak like this, or you speak like that. All that stuff. Let's get this. We're human beings. We all matter. We all want the best for other people. If you don't, you need to look deep in here, and let's move on. Let's go make a difference. Put our arm around somebody today and say, hey, let's get through this. We'll see you next time. Now, I'll promise you this. Probably tomorrow. I was going to say I'll see you next time, maybe tomorrow, but I doubt it because I live in Texas. And tomorrow it'll probably be 100. And I won't be able to sit out in the backyard because right now the sun's coming out and it's probably fixing to get hot. And I'm probably have to go back inside because I'm spoiled to air conditioning. Okay. See you next time from the backyard.